Chapter 63: The Great General of the Western Wilderness. At dawn, a thick fog blanketed the summit. Liu Feng had been standing here for 3 days straight, his body motionless. As the sun gradually appeared on the horizon, rays of sunlight pierced through the mist and fell upon Liu Feng, radiating a golden glow.
Call.
Liu Feng suddenly opened his eyes, a vast and murderous intent bursting forth from them, sending chills down anyone's spine upon a single glance. His sharp gaze pierced the void, and he leaped into the air, as if plunging down from a mountain peak. A flash of sword light appeared, instantly leaving a terrifying sword wound 5 inches deep and 5 feet long on the boulder before him, a truly horrifying sight. Just as I expected, Liu Feng said thoughtfully, the power of this surging wind annihilation is far more than that. With my despairing intent, its power has increased several times over. Liu Feng was certain that this modified version of the surging wind annihilation move was absolutely a deadly threat to a sword master, enough to kill them with a single strike. Just then, a figure rushed towards them from a distance on the mountain peak. Liu Feng glanced at the figure flying over in surprise. He had previously told Deng Chao not to bother him unless it was something important. Could something have happened? The figure drew closer. It was a burly military general who looked quite familiar. The general rushed up to Liu Feng, bowed deeply, and his eyes held a deep respect. I recognize you. You are Deng Chao's deputy general and one of his confidants. You've come here to see me. Is there something important you need to discuss? Liu Feng frowned slightly, his eyes filled with inquiry. It is like this. The general ordered me to inform you, sir, that the imperial court's reward and official documents have been issued. For your meritorious service in protecting the mines, the general has been promoted 3 ranks and has been ordered to be transferred to the Western Wilderness soon. The deputy general reported, with a respectful expression. The Western Wilderness? Liu Feng's expression changed. Although he knew Deng Chao would definitely be promoted, he hadn't expected the court to transfer him to the Western Wilderness. From the Witch Clan's secret chronicles of the heavens, he knew the Western Wilderness was a dangerous place, constantly clashing with the powerful Wilderness clan and the Empire. However, precisely because of this, there were many opportunities there. Several of the Empire's great generals had risen to prominence on the Western Wilderness battlefield. Now, they held the highest ranks of officialdom, reaching the pinnacle of power. When do we depart? Liu Feng asked. The army is scheduled to depart in 3 days. At that time, the newly arrived garrison general will take over the mine, and we will then prepare to set off. After speaking, the deputy general took out a document from his pocket and handed it to Liu Feng, saying, "This is the imperial court's appointment letter to you, sir." Oh, I have one too. Liu Feng was slightly surprised. He reached out and took the document. After opening it, several lines of vigorous regular script came into view. Yi Xian of the Dragon Tiger Army under Deng Chao has made meritorious contributions in protecting the mine and has killed countless witch sect demons, greatly boosting the military prestige of our empire. After review by the Ministry of War and by His Majesty's decree, he is hereby specially appointed as the captain of the Dragon Tiger Army and the Earl of Dragon Might. The letter was signed at the end, Chief Minister of War, Pei Ruhu, and they even bestowed upon me an earldom? Liu Feng's lips curled into a smile. Imperial titles were divided into 5 ranks: Duke, Marquis, Earl, Viscount, and Baron. The ranks of Duke and Marquis were highly prestigious, granting them their own personal fiefdoms. This was the reason why most people aspired to become prime ministers and be granted Marquis titles. As for the latter 3 ranks, they did not grant fiefdoms. They were merely honorary titles with few privileges and therefore little practical significance. But think about it. Titles are earned step by step. If you're not even an earl, how can you be granted a marquisate? Unless you've made a great contribution, it's possible to be granted a marquisate directly without going through the proper procedures. As for the name Yi Xian, it was changed by Liu Feng himself. This was a last resort to avoid the threat from the second prince. Liu Feng put away the letter of appointment and nodded. I understand. You can go back now. I will set off with the army in 3 days. Yes. The lieutenant clasped his hands in a fist salute, accepted the order, and left. After the deputy general had walked a distance, Liu Feng muttered to himself, "The western wilderness, it's not a bad place." On the mountain peak, the mist gradually obscured Liu Feng's figure. Only the hazy figure seemed to be wielding his sword again, practicing his swordsmanship. 3 days later, the army set off in great numbers. Izhou Prefecture, in the western part of the empire. On the vast plains, a magnificent city rises from the ground, its black walls reaching dozens of feet high, looking from afar like a prehistoric beast, awe-inspiring and intimidating. This is the border hub of the entire Izhou Prefecture, a fortress for the empire to resist the invasion of the Wilderness clan. Hundreds of thousands of troops are stationed inside and outside the city, forming a defensive perimeter to protect the entire Great Wilderness city. Deng Chao's army numbered over 5,000, most of whom were elites who had survived the mine battle. They formed a mighty torrent and surged into the city gates. However, as soon as he entered the city, he received a summons from General Qian Wuji and was summoned to the general's palace. Liu Feng and another deputy general accompanied him as they went to pay their respects to the general. Inside the general's hall, 2 rows of imposing armored soldiers stood guard on either side. The men standing at the head of the 2 sides were all clad in wondrous chainmail, exuding a powerful aura. They were clearly strong individuals of the same caliber as Deng Chao generals. On the main seat, a middle-aged man clad in heavy golden armor came into view. His fair complexion and clean-shaven face added to his refined appearance, but his full forehead and piercing eyes gave him an air of authority. This was Qian Wuji, the great general of the empire who guarded the great wilderness city and the commander of the army that was conquering the western wilderness. This humble general, Deng Chao, pays his respects to the great general. Deng Chao walked down the steps, clasped his hands in salute, and said. Liu Feng and his companion, one on each side, also knelt on one knee and bowed in return. "Get up." Qian Wuji waved his hand gently and nodded slightly. "Deng Chao, I heard that you performed outstandingly at the Wuxi mine, thwarting the Wu clan's plot to seize our empire's mine. That is truly a great achievement." "Not at all. If it weren't for Lord Qin and Tiger Warrior's timely arrival, I would have already become a dead man under the command of the Witch clan's demons." "General, you say it's a great achievement, but I really don't deserve it," Deng Chao said humbly. "You don't need to be modest. The Empire transferred you here to reward your contributions, giving you the opportunity to make a name for yourself," Qian Wuji said indifferently. "The general is absolutely right. This humble general will certainly fight bravely to the death and live up to the court's high expectations," Deng Chao said resolutely, enunciating each word clearly. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng glanced at the general with some surprise and doubt, wondering to himself why the general seemed to be implying something. What was he trying to say with all this? "Your courage is commendable. However, you have been stationed in the mines for many years and are probably not very familiar with military operations. Your troops have also been out of practice for a long time. Whether they can adapt to the situation in the western wilderness is a question." Liu Feng's heart skipped a beat, and he sneered inwardly. He figured that this was probably the key point behind everything the other party had said so far. The implication was that they looked down on Deng Chao's troops. "Please rest assured, General, my men have all crawled out of mountains of corpses and seas of blood, and their fighting strength is no less than that of any army." "Oh, it seems you have a lot of confidence in your subordinates." Qian Wuji raised an eyebrow, a glint of light flashing in his eyes. "Well then, I'll be frank. You should know that I am extremely strict in disciplining my troops and cannot tolerate even the slightest imperfection. I hope your mining army will not bring shame upon me. From this day forward, select all the elite soldiers and generals in your army and submit their names to me. I will assign them different tasks based on their individual strengths. As for the rest, they'll be responsible for guarding the city." Deng Chao frowned. Although he had heard that General Qian had a bad temper, He hadn't expected the other party to speak so harshly, directly treating his men as a burden. However, when you're under someone's roof, you have to bow your head. The other party was a grand general of the empire, so Deng Chao naturally dared not refute him. He could only follow the other party's words, cupping his hands and saying, "Yes, sir." Stepping out of the general's hall, Deng Chao's expression was rather unpleasant. He hadn't expected the general to give him such a rude awakening right from the start, catching him completely off guard. However, there was nothing he could do. Rumor had it that Qian Wuji always treated new generals this way, never giving them a friendly look. "Go back and compile a list of the best soldiers in the army, then give it to me," Deng Chao instructed the adjutant beside him. "Add my name as well," Liu Feng said after a moment of contemplation. "As for special skills, just write that they are good at stealth and quick-witted, something like that." After saying this, Deng Chao looked somewhat suspicious and surprised and said, "If it's written like this, I think the general will probably assign you to the scout camp." Hee hee. Liu Feng chuckled faintly, a slight upturn at the corners of his mouth. This is exactly the result I wanted. Chapter 60 for the Desolate Clan Princess. The entire western wilderness was covered by a boundless forest, with towering ancient trees and vines that blocked out the sun everywhere. Several figures moved swiftly through the lush, dense forest. The figure flashing at the forefront, dressed in a black outfit and with a handsome face, was none other than Liu Feng. "Captain, we're about 100 miles ahead when we reach the vanguard camp of the Wilderness Clan." A young man in black reminded Liu Feng from not far behind. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng abruptly stopped and raised his hand to signal, "Stop." As soon as he finished speaking, with a few swift movements, 4 or 5 dark figures gathered behind Liu Feng and stopped, all looking at him as if waiting for his command. The current situation is exactly as Liu Feng wished. He has successfully entered the scout camp and has even been given the position of a squad leader, specifically responsible for gathering intelligence on the enemy. The people in front of him are the members of Liu Feng's scout squad. "Let's split up here. Black Hawk, you two head to the enemy supply camp. Yiksha, you're in charge of the north and south camps, and I'll take charge of the central army," Liu Feng instructed them. "Yes." The group responded and darted into the forest like nimble monkeys. The scouts' missions are reconnaissance, infiltration, and even assassination. Liu Feng's first mission was no simple task: to infiltrate the vanguard camp of the Wilderness Clan, familiarize himself with the layout of their main camp, and submit a map drawn up in the map. A moment later, Liu Feng also moved and disappeared into the woods. Deep in the forest, beneath the dense ancient trees, tents gradually appeared, scattered among the trees. Due to the extremely irregular distribution of the ancient trees, the formation of this large camp also appeared very chaotic. At first glance, it looked as if it had been arranged by someone who knew nothing about military strategy. Around the camp, tall, rugged barbarian soldiers could be seen patrolling everywhere, their eyes alert. Most of these soldiers wore animal skin armor, and the shortest of them were at least 9 feet tall with arms that reached past their knees. However, their appearances were quite similar to those of the people from the 2 great empires. As dusk approached, torches were quickly lit throughout the camp, illuminating the surrounding darkness. Whoosh! In the shadows, taking advantage of the night, Liu Feng carefully made his way towards the Wilderness Clan's camp, stepping on tree branches. He finally stopped on the canopy of a large tree, the camp now in sight. However, Liu Feng waited quietly, waiting for an opportunity. Soon the opportunity arose. One of the patrolling barbarian soldiers soon left the group to relieve himself, and the place where he relieved himself was under the big tree where Liu Feng was hiding. Just as the soldier was relieving himself, a sudden chill ran down his spine. A flash of cold light then grazed his neck, and blood spurted out. After changing into this person's clothes, Liu Feng made his way through the defenses without any hindrance and entered the central army area. In front of him, a large tent that was 4 or 5 zhang high came into view. "This is it." Liu Feng's eyes lit up. He rushed to the back of the tent and memorized the surrounding terrain, camp layout, and troop situation. Just as Liu Feng had almost memorized the terrain, suddenly, a whooshing sound of water came from inside the tent next to him. Although it was very faint, it still did not escape Liu Feng's ears. Why is there a sound of water inside the commander's tent? Liu Feng was extremely curious. Although his mission was complete, and he should have been able to return to report, his intense curiosity compelled him to use his sword fingers to carefully poke a small hole in the tent. Unexpectedly, what came into view was a graceful, snow-white figure. Liu Feng finally understood why there was a sound of water, but when he saw what was inside, his head immediately went hot, and an uncontrollable surge of heat rushed up. Liu Feng hurriedly covered his nose, but blood still slowly trickled from his nostrils through his fingers. This scene is a living picture of a beautiful woman emerging from her bath. No, none of the Japanese adult film actresses from my previous life can compare to this woman before me. Her face, her curves, are simply the epitome of perfection. Who? A chilling voice suddenly rang out from the camp, followed by a loud splash as a woman leaped out of the water. A set of black armor swept out from all directions, instantly enveloping her alluring body. Oops. Liu Feng's expression changed. Just now, when he had a nosebleed, his breathing was also a little disordered. He didn't expect that the other party would notice it so easily. Run. Feeling the endless chill inside the tent, Liu Feng had no other thoughts. He immediately channeled all his spiritual power and ran for his life.
Boom.
The moment Liu Feng fled, his location was struck by a powerful energy, instantly creating a large hole. The entire Central Command tent was torn apart by a sword light, and a beautiful figure flashed out like lightning. What happened? Upon hearing the loud bang, the soldiers of the Wilderness Clan all turned to look at the central position, where they saw a beautiful figure leaping high into the air, unleashing a dense array of sharp sword energy that slashed towards the ground.
They were all horrified.
Liu Feng cried out in despair, barely managing to dodge the dense barrage of attacks from behind thanks to his superior reflexes. However, this only seemed to enrage the woman behind him further, who relentlessly hurled attacks at him. This woman is crazy. She just glanced at me by accident. Why is she so murderous? As Liu Feng ran away, he secretly regretted that if he had known there was a tigress inside, he shouldn't have been so curious. He wouldn't have looked even if it was thunder, let alone the sound of water. The two flew swiftly, quickly breaking out of the Wilderness Clan's camp and heading deep into the dense forest. When the experts in the Wilderness Clan's army saw the woman in black leave the camp, they dared not delay and rushed out one by one to follow closely behind. This is the daughter of the Wilderness King. If anything happens to her, then all the generals in their camp will probably suffer a terrible fate. In the dense forest, rays of moonlight pierced through the gaps between the trees, scattering across the ground.
Whoosh.
Two figures flashed past each other, one after the other. General, I'm just a lowly soldier. Why are you making things difficult for me? Besides, I really didn't see anything. Liu Feng said as he ran. The woman in black was so angry, she almost vomited blood. Her nose was bleeding, and she still said she didn't see anything? Enraged, she unleashed another sword beam. With a thought, Liu Feng flipped his body 180 degrees, barely avoiding the attack. A mere soldier possesses such skill? He's clearly a spy for the Northern Snowmen, the woman in black said coldly. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng suddenly smiled and abruptly stopped. The woman in black's pretty face changed color, and she also hurriedly stopped, her expression wary. Since you keep calling me a spy, then I'll capture you and hand you over to the Northern Snow Army for a reward. Liu Feng changed his tune, and with a flick of his wrist, the demon-slaying sword appeared in his hand. You think you can take me on? The woman in black sneered. A mere fourth-tier swordsman dares to claim he poses a threat to this princess? I'll kill you right now, you lecherous thief. With that, the woman in black flicked her long sword, conjuring countless purple sword shadows that resembled clouds, mist, and illusions, enveloping Liu Feng. Chapter 65 Purple Illusion, Star Sword. What a strange swordsmanship. Liu Feng's eyes narrowed. Ordinary Earth-rank sword techniques would transform sword energy into various forms, such as dragons and tigers, fierce beasts, solitary and precipitous peaks, great rivers, and countless others. The swordplay of the desolate princess before them was both solid and ethereal, seemingly slow yet incredibly swift, with countless variations hidden within the purple cloud sword energy, giving one a hazy and elusive feeling. Liu Feng dared not be negligent. With a tremor of his sword, a strong wind arose, and he launched the second move of the Great Wind Sword technique, strong grass in the wind, to meet the attack. Although the sword cloud technique was deceptive and misleading, it could only sway others and couldn't fool Liu Feng's eyes. Any deceptive sword move was basically ineffective against him unless the difference in strength between the two sides was truly too great. The woman before him had only recently entered the realm of swordsmanship, and the fluctuations emanating from her weren't particularly strong. Sizzle. The sword moved with incredible speed, piercing into the purple cloud sword energy, creating sparks that landed precisely on the black-clad woman's sword.
Clang.
A powerful force traveled through the long sword to the woman's hand, almost causing her to lose her balance and nearly drop the sword. What? The woman in black was greatly alarmed and retreated rapidly, her beautiful eyes filled with fear. Her opponent had actually seen through her purple illusion star sword in an instant, found its weakness, and then countered it. The opponent's astonishing eyesight made her feel a sense of unease. Swift as the wind and thunder. Having gained the upper hand, Liu Feng was not about to let this excellent opportunity slip by. With a swift movement, leaving an afterimage in his original position, his true form appeared before the woman. He unleashed a series of dazzling sword lights, which were particularly striking in the darkness. Although the woman in black was shocked, she was not so panicked as to sit and wait for her death. She was very confident in her strength and slashed out with her sword. Clouds scattered, and the sword energy emitted dazzling light like starlight, increasing her aura. It's just the same old trick, a different name. It won't work on me. Midway through the attack, Liu Feng suddenly changed his sword stance, unleashing a sword light as twisted as water, which pierced through the gaps in the purple cloud sword energy like an earthworm. This is the fourth move of the Liu family's twin swords, flowing water. It uses softness to overcome hardness, striking when there is an opening, and its power is multiplied when Liu Feng pushes it to its limit. Although the moves are simple, their strength lies in their flexible application, leaving no room for error. Before the sword even arrived, the woman in black felt a chill rush straight to her lower abdomen, icy cold. She was utterly shocked. Liu Feng's strength far exceeded her expectations. In his presence, she felt powerless and utterly frustrated. The key point is that the opponent only appears to be a 4th or 5th level swordsman. In their wilderness clan, such cultivation is considered average, not even genius. Yet, this 4th or 5th level youth has repeatedly managed to break through her sword techniques and force her into a disadvantageous position. Could it be that she has cultivated some martial arts technique that conceals her true strength? The woman in black wondered to herself. Yes, that must be it. Hiss. However, just as the sword light pierced through the air around the woman in black suddenly distorted. The sword light grazed past her, only creating sparks, and did not cause her any harm. Could it be a top-grade treasure armor? A hint of surprise flashed in Liu Feng's eyes. Just now, the strong fluctuations emanating from the woman's body did not seem to be from body-refining martial arts, so there was only one possibility left, a defensive treasure. To withstand his attack unscathed, the defensive artifact must be at least of high grade, and very likely a top-grade artifact. As for a Dao artifact, that's unlikely because if it were, Liu Feng would have been the one injured. The strong recoil of a Dao artifact armor would have been enough to deflect the attack back to him. Although Liu Feng's demon-slaying sword is a high-grade Dao artifact, it seems that most of its power has been consumed. Even with the remaining energy, Liu Feng hasn't been able to unleash its full potential. It's estimated that he'll have to wait until his strength increases before he can unleash the sword's true power. Just then, within a kilometer radius, the sound of wind breaking came from afar, converging from all directions. Looks like your men have arrived. Sorry, that's all for today. Liu Feng's expression changed slightly. Then he gave the woman in black a bright smile, turned around and darted away. Don't even think about escaping. The woman in black was not about to let Liu Feng go so easily. She tiptoed and moved with lightning speed, thrusting her sword towards Liu Feng's back. Sigh. Liu Feng shook his head, seemingly sighing helplessly. Since you insist on causing me trouble, I have no choice but to be impolite. The next moment, just as the sword light flashed and arrived, Liu Feng suddenly turned around, his eyes filled with a chilling white light, releasing an aura of despair, and an astonishing killing intent rose up. The woman in black's expression changed drastically. Overwhelmed by the sudden killing intent, she panicked for a moment. However, Liu Feng seized this moment of confusion, using the supreme sword technique to deflect the woman's sword. He then flashed forward and pinned her down. You let me go. Being pinned down by a strange man, the princess of the Wilderness clan was also anxious. Smelling the masculine scent emanating from Liu Feng, she couldn't help but feel a mixture of shame and anger, and struggled frantically. Liu Feng showed no mercy, not only increasing the pressure, but also holding the demon-slaying sword to her neck, coldly saying, "Woman, you're pushing me so hard. Do you really think I wouldn't dare kill you?" If it weren't for the lingering guilt he felt after seeing her body, Liu Feng would have killed the woman without hesitation, bringing her head back to Great Wilderness City. He would likely have received a great reward from the Grand General, and promotion would have been a certainty. After all, killing the enemy's vanguard commander was a major achievement. Kill me if you want. If Princess Lingyun were afraid of death, she wouldn't have come here, the woman in black said through gritted teeth. Oh, you're not afraid of death? Then I'll be too lazy to kill you. Liu Feng's lips curled up slightly, a playful smile appearing on his face. He deliberately gave the woman's sensitive areas a somewhat burning gaze. There are plenty of ways to deal with you. What do you think your subordinates would think if they saw you disheveled with me? You. Princess Lingyun's face turned deathly pale. If Liu Feng really did that, she would be completely disgraced. Among the desolate clan, the purity of women is of utmost importance, especially for her as a princess. If she were to be defiled by these filthy foreign races, she would likely be burned at the stake and wiped out from the world. She suddenly felt a pang of regret. Regret for chasing after him out of the camp alone, regret for underestimating Liu Feng, which had led to this tragic end. Thinking of this, she couldn't help but close her eyes. Just as she closed her eyes, she suddenly felt her body lighten. When she opened her eyes, Liu Feng had already disappeared. "Ha, Your Highness, I will spare your life today, but if we meet again on the battlefield, don't blame me for being ruthless." A laugh echoed from the dense forest, growing louder as it approached, reverberating throughout the entire grove. They left. Princess Lingyun stared blankly ahead, never expecting that this man would give up the chance to kill her and leave without a word. Didn't he know that the head of an enemy commander could be exchanged for endless wealth and glory? However, before she could think for long, another faint voice drifted over. "Your Highness, to be honest, your figure is quite good." Upon hearing this, Princess Lingyun nearly fainted from anger and almost collapsed to the ground. Chapter 66 Abyss, Dragon Ape. The vast western wilderness stretches for thousands of miles, and the area occupied by the Wilderness clan is only a part of it. In addition, there are extremely large areas that are dangerous places where few people go and monsters roam. After completing his reconnaissance mission, Liu Feng assigned other tasks to his subordinates and left Great Wilderness City. He planned to spend some time training in the Western Wilderness. Staying in the military camp all the time resulted in slow progress. Venturing out on adventures was the shortcut to cultivation, an age-old truth. The Blood Demon Mountain Range, located in the far north of the Western Wilderness, is shrouded in a thin layer of blood-red clouds year-round. Legend has it that a powerful sec-level demon beast, the enchanting dragon, is entrenched deep within the Blood Demon Mountain Range. adding to its mystique. Even if this enchanting dragon doesn't exist, the numerous Xian-level demon beasts within are enough to deter even the Empire's forces. At this moment, in a stream on the outskirts of Blood Demon Mountain, on a fan-shaped alluvial plain in the middle of the stream, there are 4 or 5 spirit trees with a sky-blue hue. Each tree has a dozen or so round, blue fruits on it, emitting an enticing fragrance. Around the spirit tree, a group of monkeys were happily picking fruit. These monkeys were more than twice the size of ordinary monkeys, covered in black fur, and had a pair of terrifying blue fangs. It was clear at a glance that they were not ordinary monkeys, but spirit-level demon beasts, the blue ghost monkeys. On a towering tree beside the stream, a white figure stood on the canopy. It was Liu Feng, a newcomer to this place. Gazing at the green fruits growing on the spirit tree, Liu Feng's eyes gleamed with a burning desire. I never expected to find spirit essence fruits here. The spirit essence fruit is an extremely rare spiritual fruit that only bears fruit once every 50 years, making it a treasure coveted by most martial artists. Its effects are even more enticing, increasing a martial artist's true qi reserves. Therefore, for Liu Feng, the spirit essence fruit is of great significance. Liu Feng was overjoyed. He hadn't expected to make a discovery so soon after leaving, but he had refrained from acting because of the group of monkeys below. While these dozen or so monkeys were easy to deal with, the leader among them possessed a powerful aura, having reached the Xian level, making it difficult to simply snatch it. More importantly, monkeys are social animals, and if he failed to eliminate them all, the consequences of even 1 or 2 escaping would be unimaginable. Time ticked by, and as he watched the dwindling number of spirit fruits on the tree, a look of anxiety crossed Liu Feng's eyes. Damn it! Don't these damned monkeys plan to leave a few behind? Soon, Liu Feng's words came true. As the last spirit fruit was picked by the monkey, the lead monkey waved its paw and howled a few times. The monkeys then began to pack up and leave, happily carrying away all the spirit fruits. Grass. Seeing this, Liu Feng's face turned extremely ugly, and he clenched his fists. However, he managed to suppress his anger and calm down to think of a solution. With so many spirit fruits, how can we let these stinky monkeys get them? Determined not to waste these spiritual fruits, Liu Feng made a plan and carefully followed closely behind the monkey troop. After following for about an hour, a cliff appeared ahead. The monkeys rushed down the cliff, jumped down along the vines, and disappeared in no time. It seems that these beasts' lair is right below this cliff. Without hesitation, Liu Feng leaped off the cliff and, following the winding mountain wall, spent half an hour until he finally discovered a hidden stone cave halfway up the mountain. Although the cave was surrounded by dense foliage, it still managed to catch his eye. Upon entering the cave, dewdrops fell on the rock walls, making a drip, drip sound. The cave was winding and dark, with damp air and a very unpleasant smell. As Liu Feng ventured deeper, a light seemed to appear before him, growing stronger and stronger. When he reached the end of the cave, the view suddenly opened up before him. Seeing the scene before him, Liu Feng was dumbfounded. This was an extremely spacious cavern, where hundreds of green ghost monkeys frolicked and played. The group of monkeys that had just entered were carrying dozens of spirit fruits toward the innermost part of the cave, gradually disappearing from sight. Sitting on the main seat directly above the cave dwelling was a huge green ghost monkey. However, apart from being several times larger than other ordinary green ghost monkeys, its fur had a faint golden sheen. Upon seeing the giant monkey's appearance, Liu Feng's face showed a look of shock, his mouth agape. Could this be an abyss dragon ape? The abyss dragon ape is a mutated species within the green ghost monkey clan. It not only inherits the powerful strength of the green ghost monkey clan, but also possesses astonishing defense. It is a Xian-level demon beast from birth, and judging from the aura emanating from the dragon ape in front of it, it should have reached the peak of the Xian level. It turns out that the master of this green ghost monkey cave is actually an abyss dragon ape. Liu Feng's eyes flickered, and after hesitating for a moment, he gritted his teeth and said, For the spirit essence fruit, I'll risk everything. Using the concealing chi technique, Liu Feng moved with extreme caution, each step carefully observed. Watching the monkeys playing in the distance, he moved lightly, like a nimble snake, silently darting deeper into the cave. Deep within the cave, a dozen or so green ghost monkeys gathered together, each pouring the spirit fruits from their bodies into a stone trough. The trough was filled with an unknown dark green liquid, emitting a pure medicinal fragrance. Soon, all the dozens of spirit fruits were poured into the stone trough, causing Liu Feng, who was hiding not far away, to twitch his face. However, Liu Feng still dared not move rashly. If he alerted the abyss dragon ape, he would be in deep trouble, and his life would probably be in danger. At this moment, the slightly larger monkey in the lead took out a wooden stick, stirred it in the dark green liquid, took a sip, and revealed an expression of extreme enjoyment. Under the envious gazes of the other monkeys, the leader seemed not to notice, waved his hand, and chased the troop away. Only the bubbling dark green liquid remained in the stone trough in the stone chamber. As soon as the monkeys left, Liu Feng appeared in front of the stone trough. He hurriedly took out the demon-slaying sword and rummaged through the dark green liquid, but he couldn't find even a trace of the spirit essence fruit. They've all been shredded. Damn it. Liu Feng was immediately filled with despair, feeling an urge to die, but he quickly calmed down. Then, he looked at the dark green liquid in front of him with some surprise and couldn't help but lean in and take a sniff. Instantly, a rich fragrance filled his mouth and nose, making him feel refreshed. Liu Feng's eyes lit up. Could this thing be a spiritual medicine made from spirit essence fruit using some secret recipe? After thinking about it, he lowered his head and took a bite, swallowing a mouthful of dark green liquid. Unexpectedly, the liquid melted upon entering the mouth, instantly transforming into a pure medicinal power that rapidly flowed to the limbs and bones, strengthening the meridians within the body. This caused the magical power in the body to become slightly more potent within just a few breaths. Feeling the changes within his body, Liu Feng was overjoyed. He hadn't expected this thing to have the same effects as the spirit essence fruit, or even be better. Without further hesitation, he buried his head and began to gulp it down. Liu Feng continued drinking heartily until his stomach swelled up like a balloon, becoming perfectly round. Only then did he slowly lift his head from the stone trough, let out a burp, and show a satisfied expression on his face. Patting his bulging belly, Liu Feng circulated all his magical power, rapidly refining the green spiritual liquid he had just consumed. Streams of pure medicinal power were continuously extracted and transformed into cyan magical power, while the remaining medicinal power that was not refined seeped into Liu Feng's meridians and settled down. Liu Feng was secretly delighted. The medicinal power alone was enough for him to advance to the 5th rank. However, looking at the still full of green spiritual liquid in front of him, Liu Feng couldn't help but have another idea. Even after Liu Feng's previous binge drinking, the green spiritual liquid in the stone trough only sank a very small amount, less than 1/5 of its original size. With a thought, Liu Feng took out dozens of empty gourds from his void ring and muttered, "Such good stuff wasted on a bunch of beasts. I'd rather have it." In a short while, dozens of gourds were filled. By then, the liquid in the stone trough had almost run dry, leaving less than 1/10 of its original volume. It was also very murky, mostly consisting of sediment, and was of little value. Seeing this, Liu Feng's face was full of regret. "Unfortunately, my gourds are already full." After putting away the dozens of gourds filled with green spiritual liquid, Liu Feng still looked somewhat reluctant to leave. Just as he was about to depart, an uninvited guest suddenly barged in. The figure that rushed in was a green demon monkey, carrying 2 wine jars and looking very excited. However, when it saw a human appear in their brewing room, its expression changed. And when it discovered that the stone trough was empty, its eyes showed disbelief, and its monkey face was full of horror. Their leader painstakingly brewed the spirit wine for decades, and not a single drop remained? Liu Feng had a bad feeling, but before he could do anything, the monkey in front of him opened its mouth and let out an extremely angry howl that immediately echoed throughout the entire stone cave. Chapter 67: The Eternal Essence of the Sword. Not good. Liu Feng slashed the crazed monkey in front of him with his sword and, without hesitation, rushed towards the exit with all his might. Without a doubt, that scream must have alerted the abyssal dragon ape. If it couldn't escape quickly, it might perish here today. In a few moments, Liu Feng reached the cave entrance. He swiftly darted through the cave he had entered through, then nimbly jumped off the cliff and landed safely on the ground.
Ah!
A thunderous roar came from behind, causing the entire mountain to tremble, and boulders tumbled down from the summit. Clearly, the dragon ape had discovered its painstakingly brewed spirit wine had been stolen and had entered a berserk state. Liu Feng spotted the densest part of the trees, disappeared into it. Bang! Just a few breaths later, a large hole was smashed open in the mountain's belly, and a huge, dark golden figure leaped out. It was the abyss dragon ape, now in a berserk state. The dragon ape's eyes were blood-red. It merely sniffed the air before fixing its gaze on the direction Liu Feng had fled, letting out a furious roar before leaping into the dense forest. Despite its large size, the dragon ape was incredibly agile. Before long, it spotted Liu Feng's location. A fierce glint flashed in its copper bell-like eyes, and with a flick of its giant hand, it swiftly condensed a blade of true energy, slashing towards Liu Feng. With a flick of his wrist, Liu Feng deftly dodged the attack of the true chi blade. Failing to hit its target, Abyss Dragon became even more enraged, continuously condensing dozens of true energy blades in its hand and furiously smashing them towards Liu Feng. Hateful. Even with Liu Feng's exquisite footwork, it was still very difficult to dodge so many attacks. He thought to himself, "This won't do. My true energy is being consumed too quickly. I can't hold on for long." At this moment, a mountain shrouded in blood-red clouds in front of Liu Feng was getting closer and clearer, and an indescribable fierce aura arose spontaneously. Liu Feng's heart tightened. Wasn't this the infamous Blood Demon Mountain? Bang! Just as Liu Feng was surprised, a blade of true energy suddenly flew past him from a short distance behind him. The sharp energy pierced through his clothes on the back, leaving a faint bloodstain. Staggering, Liu Feng gritted his teeth. "Since I'm going to die anyway, I might as well give it a shot. Maybe there's still a glimmer of hope." Pushing his magic power to its limit, Liu Feng suddenly increased his speed and plunged into the Blood Demon Mountain like lightning. Behind them, the Abyss Dragon Ape arrived, and a rare hint of hesitation flashed across its blood-red eyes. However, in just a moment, the Dragon Ape dispelled its concerns and rushed in. Inside the Blood Demon Mountain. Bang! Liu Feng hadn't escaped far when another fierce attack slammed into the area not far behind him. The dragon ape behind him was attacking even more fiercely, seemingly wanting to finish off Liu Feng quickly. Still chasing? Seeing the relentless pursuit of the dragon ape, Liu Feng's expression darkened considerably. He could only force himself to remain calm, his sharp gaze sweeping around before finally settling on the rocky mountain to his left. There was a large horizontal crack there, as if it had been cleaved out by a sword, and its depth was unfathomable. Ignoring any potential dangers inside, Liu Feng stomped his right foot on the ground and darted out diagonally, disappearing into the large crevice like a swallow returning to its nest. Bang! The ground trembled. The Abyss Dragon Ape was too large to follow Liu Feng in, but its immense power still caused the earth and rocks to crack and scatter. Liu Feng didn't believe the outer entrance could stop the Abyss Dragon Ape. He took out a luminous crystal from the void ring, used the faint light to see his surroundings, and then walked deeper into the area. After walking for an unknown amount of time, Liu Feng could no longer hear any sounds outside. The size of the space inside the crack was unknown. Liu Feng had been walking for nearly half an hour, but still hadn't reached the end. Phew! A gust of underground wind blew by, and Liu Feng gradually saw the light ahead. As he approached, he was shocked to discover that there was a different world underground. Deep underground, there are rivers, trees, flowers and grass, and a palace built of huge stones, 4 or 5 zhang high. Outside the palace, there are stone pavilions, tables, and chairs. Could someone live here? Liu Feng looked surprised and uncertain. He thought he had found an exit, but he had unexpectedly come underground.
Whoosh.
Water splashed everywhere in the river, seemingly teeming with fish, and occasionally the sound of water breaking could be heard. The trees were strange. Unlike the large trees on the ground, their gray branches resembled rocks, and they bore only a few dozen gray leaves, hanging forlornly, devoid of life. Not daring to be careless, Liu Feng walked into the palace. "Is anyone home?" Liu Feng called out as he arrived outside the palace. "I called several times, but no one responded. Take a deep breath, push open the door, and step inside the palace." As the gates opened, the first impression of the palace was one of spaciousness. 8 stone pillars engraved with giant dragons supported the entire palace, and moonstones were inlaid on the surrounding walls, making the interior incredibly bright. The first thing that catches the eye is the huge portrait on the opposite wall. The portrait depicts a swordsman in blue, his body, cast in steel, standing tall and straight, as if he could support the sky. His eyes are cold, revealing a hint of arrogance, and an aura of domineering power that looks down on the world arises spontaneously. Upon seeing the painting, Liu Feng vaguely sensed a powerful pressure emanating from his will. The longer he lingered before it, the stronger the pressure grew, until it almost suffocated him. In the end, he was forced to summon his own sword intent to resist it. However, as soon as the two wills came into contact, Liu Feng's consciousness became blurred. In the vast heaven and earth, Liu Feng slowly opened his eyes. What came into view was the blue-clad swordsman in the painting. His handsome face showed an expression that seemed both angry and indifferent, exuding an aura of contempt for all living beings. The blue-clad swordsman remained silent, maintaining a unique sword-wielding posture, yet both his footwork and sword techniques exuded a mysterious quality. Something strange. Liu Feng's eyes narrowed slightly, and the figure of the blue-clad swordsman magnified infinitely in his pupils. At this moment, the blue-clad swordsman seemed to begin to move, suddenly thrusting his sword forward. 1 strike, 2 strikes. Though it appeared to be just an ordinary thrust, it was repeated endlessly, seemingly without end. At this moment, a figure appeared outside the palace gates. After discovering that the palace gates had been opened, the figure let out a soft exclamation and entered the palace. The first thing the figure saw was Liu Feng standing there in a daze. Interesting. Seeing Liu Feng's stunned expression, a mocking look appeared on the figure's face. At this moment, Liu Feng's consciousness had entered the painting, completely unaware that a figure was standing beside him. In his mind, Liu Feng had lost count of how many times the blue-clad swordsman had thrust out his sword. One sword after another, the speed of the sword strikes was getting faster and faster, and the dazzling sword light left behind afterimages, making it difficult to find the trajectory of the sword strikes. What exactly is this? What is the mystery behind it? Liu Feng frowned. He could vaguely sense that this seemingly ordinary sword strike concealed an invisible rule, a rule that belonged only to the way of the sword. At that moment, the blue-clad swordsman suddenly stopped his sword-drawing motion and instead unleashed a slash that left a huge crack in the ground. Within the crack, a golden aura lingered, appearing and disappearing intermittently. Next, Liu Feng felt as if he had experienced wind, rain, snow, drought, and countless springs and autumns, with all sorts of environments changing. Even after experiencing countless storms, the golden aura still existed in the cracks and did not dissipate. This aura, could it mean eternity? Liu Feng's eyes suddenly lit up as he finally understood its meaning. Then, a smile appeared on his lips. So, it's the rule of the sword. No, it should be the eternal way of the sword. Good. Under Liu Feng's horrified gaze, the blue-clad swordsman actually spoke, his face showing no change in expression, and continued, "Young man, you are only half right. This is indeed the taste of eternity, but it is not the rule of the sword, but rather the true essence of the sword's eternity. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng's pupils suddenly contracted. Chapter 68: 3 Kinds of Swordsmanship. Legend has it that in ancient times, swordsmanship reached an unprecedented peak. The ancient swordsman's understanding of the way of the sword went to 3 extremes: the way of chaotic swordsmanship, the way of eternal swordsmanship, and the way of killing swordsmanship. When swordsmanship was passed down to the Middle Ages, master swordsmen perfected these 3 sword styles, giving rise to the 3 true essences of swordsmanship. In ancient and medieval times, the true essence of swordsmanship was nothing special, but in the present world, very few people can comprehend it. So, it's the true essence of swordsmanship. With a heart still reeling, Liu Feng gradually regained consciousness and broke free from the illusion within the painting. Just then, a strange voice suddenly came from the side, with a hint of mockery. Not bad, lad. You actually saw through the mystery in the portrait of the desolate king." The desolate king? Liu Feng was shocked. The blue-clad swordsman who looked down on the world was actually the king of the desolate clan. Wait, who's speaking? Liu Feng hurriedly turned around and saw that a figure had appeared beside him at some point. A beautiful woman in a fiery red robe was smiling at him. "Who are you? When did you appear?" Looking at the charming and alluring mature woman in front of him, Liu Feng was shocked and quickly took several steps back, his face showing vigilance. "You've trespassed into my territory, and you dare ask who I am?" The alluring woman still smiled, her breasts half exposed, her smile exuding a seductive charm that made Liu Feng secretly realize he was losing control. "Is this your place?" Liu Feng looked surprised. Someone actually dared to live inside Blood Demon Mountain? Wasn't she afraid of the demonic dragons in the mountain? "I apologize. I was being chased by an abyssal dragon ape, which is why I stumbled into this underground place and have offended your residents." Liu Feng was about to apologize and leave when, before he could finish speaking, the woman in front of him suddenly interrupted him impatiently. With a flick of her jade-like hand, a bloody monkey brain appeared in her palm. "Are you talking about that monkey that's making such a racket outside?" the alluring woman said with a smile. Then, under Liu Feng's horrified gaze, she licked the monkey's brain with her tongue. "I haven't had much meat these past few days, and this little monkey tastes pretty good." Seeing this, Liu Feng felt a chill run down his spine. Could this monkey brain really belong to that abyssal dragon ape outside? And that incredibly powerful dragon ape was actually being called a little monkey by this woman? Suppressing the chill in his heart, Liu Feng cupped his hands in greeting to the woman. "Senior, please enjoy your meal. I shall take my leave now." He turned to leave, but before he could turn halfway, he heard a soft, tingling sound coming from behind him. "Since we're here, why rush to leave?" Liu Feng broke out in a cold sweat and could only bite the bullet and say, "I have other important matters to attend to, so I won't bother you any longer. Farewell." Whoosh! Liu Feng dared not linger any longer and transformed into a whirlwind, rushing out. Meanwhile, the enchanting woman's smile grew even wider.
Boom.
Suddenly, a beam of red light slammed into the ground in front of Liu Feng, instantly blasting a hole about 10 feet in length and width into the ground. If Liu Feng hadn't reacted in time, that blow would have hit him directly, and the consequences would have been unimaginable. The rocks underground were made of a different material than those outside, incredibly hard. Even with Liu Feng's full-force attack, he could probably only leave a sword mark on the ground, while this woman had created such a large hole with a casual move. Her strength was so formidable that Liu Feng couldn't help but tremble with fear. "I've spent countless years alone in this cave, with no one to keep me company. It's so lonely. Young man, please stay and keep me company." Another enchanting voice emanated from the woman's lips, causing Liu Feng's soul to tremble. This woman was truly a femme fatale. Every smile and frown exuded endless allure. If it weren't for Liu Feng's powerful mental strength, anyone else would likely have already fallen at her feet, becoming her slave. "I'm afraid I can't comply." Liu Feng refused outright. What a joke. He had so much to do, How could he stay here underground and waste endless years? Liu Feng pushed his mental power to its limit. Suddenly, a faint light flashed on the void ring, and a dark shadow appeared before him. It was the corpse demon. As soon as it appeared, it bared its fangs and claws and pounced on the woman. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Liu Feng quickly fled in the opposite direction towards the cave entrance. Seeing this, the woman simply shook her head, seemingly with regret. Sigh, why did you run? You couldn't possibly escape.
Bang!
With a loud bang, before Liu Feng could even move, he saw the corpse demon being sent flying by a single blow, crashing heavily into the mountainside and embedding itself deep into the rock, its depths unfathomable. Liu Feng was dumbfounded. Until now, the corpse demon had been invincible, saving him from danger countless times. He never expected that she would be sent flying with a single slap right after her first appearance. A peak swordsman, crippled by a single blow. Just who is this woman? It must be a sword sect expert. Could you be that demonic dragon? This thought suddenly popped into Liu Feng's head, and his eyes widened. A hint of mockery flashed in the red-robed woman's beautiful eyes, and a smile graced her alluring cheeks. Hee, that's what people outside call me, but that's not my real name. You can call me Meishi. What will it take to let me go? At this moment, Liu Feng had already given up struggling. Resisting a sect-level demonic beast like the enchanting dragon was futile. He could only accept his bad luck and regret ever coming here. Letting you go is not impossible. The woman's words ignited a glimmer of hope in Liu Feng's heart, but her next words ruthlessly extinguished that hope. As long as you stay here with me for 50 years, I will let you go after 50 years. Upon hearing this, Liu Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. 50 years? By the time he'd spent 50 years here, it would be too late. He'd be over 60 by then. What achievements would he have left? He couldn't waste his life in a place like this. No, I must find a chance to escape. Mei Shi yawned lazily. I'm going to rest now. Be a good girl, and don't run around. There are restrictions I've set up around here, so it's easy to get hurt if you move around. However, she hadn't gone far when she suddenly stopped, as if she had remembered something. She muttered to herself, I almost forgot. After saying that, she turned around and pointed her finger behind her. A red light entered Liu Feng's body and disappeared mysteriously. What is this? Liu Feng was shocked and hurriedly used his magic to examine his body to see if there was anything unusual. Mei Shi smiled gently. It's just that I planted something inside you. Don't worry, as long as you behave, there won't be any problems. Hateful. His last hope was dashed. Liu Feng was filled with resentment. He had wanted to find a chance to escape, but who knew that the other party had thought of everything so thoroughly, with both restrictions and seeds. He figured that as soon as he tried to run, he would be discovered very quickly. Watching Mei Shi's departing figure, Liu Feng felt unwilling. He flipped his hand and took out the demon-slaying sword. He went to the cave entrance, poured magic power into the sword, and suddenly slashed out with the sword. However, the sword light, which should have been devastating, did not achieve the expected effect. It was blocked by an invisible barrier halfway through its journey, leaving only a slight ripple before disappearing without a trace. What a powerful restriction! Liu Feng's eyes narrowed. While marveling at the restriction's sturdiness, he was also extremely disappointed. Breaking such an impregnable restriction would be nearly impossible. He wondered how long it would take him to reach that level. Forget it, I'll break through to the 5th rank first. With a sigh, Liu Feng found a clean spot and sat down cross-legged. Inside the dragon ape cave, Liu Feng ingested a large amount of green spiritual liquid, which brought his magical power to a saturation point. Breaking through to the 5th rank was a natural progression, with virtually no obstacles in sight. After slowly refining the spiritual energy of the surrounding world and forming a small cycle within his dantian, Liu Feng slowly closed his eyes. Chapter 69 Savior. After one night. At this moment, the medicinal power remaining from refining the spiritual liquid in Liu Feng's meridians was being extracted bit by bit, gathering into streams of pure energy that flowed into his dantian. As more and more energy gathered, a powerful suction force was suddenly released from the dantian, absorbing all the magic power that Liu Feng had refined. After a cycle, it was then dispersed to the limbs and bones, in turn tempering the meridians in the body. Under this attraction, the surrounding power of heaven and earth surged into Liu Feng's body like a tide, cleansing his meridians. Just then, Meishi walked out of the palace and saw Liu Chen's breakthrough. A smile appeared on her lips. This kid actually dares to break through at this time. Interesting. After completing several cycles of magical energy circulation, Liu Feng's dantian finally ceased functioning. At the same time, Liu Feng's body seemed to gradually quiet down, like a dormant volcano, his aura completely contained within.
Whoosh.
Liu Feng suddenly opened his eyes, and a powerful aura burst forth from his body. At this moment, Liu Feng was like a sharp sword, his aura so fierce that it was impossible to look directly at him.
Clang.
The demon-slaying sword soared into the sky. Liu Feng's eyes were like torches. With a light stroke in the void, a pale golden sword light condensed as if it were a substance and struck the restrictions that sealed the surrounding area.
Puffed.
A shocking scene unfolded. The previously unbreakable barrier was suddenly cleaved open, revealing a sword wound about 3 feet long. Golden energy swirled within the wound, exuding an aura of eternity and immortality, as if it were the hardest thing in the world, utterly indestructible. While the barrier was attempting to repair itself, it could not fully heal. This sword strike, Meishi's pretty face turned solemn, her beautiful eyes fixed on the sword mark, a thoughtful expression on her face. Although my restriction is not particularly sophisticated, it can still be quickly repaired even if it withstands the full force of a peak Xian-level demon beast. How could this sword strike? Could it be? Meishi's expression changed, her pretty face filled with disbelief. This talent is just too terrifying. In just one day, he has actually comprehended the eternal truth of the desolate king. It was impossible for a mere swordsman to break her seal. Therefore, there was only one explanation. This sword strike contained the eternal essence of the sword. Liu Feng's ability to immerse himself in the portrait of the desolate king proves that his swordsmanship talent is quite remarkable. However, even so, Meishi did not believe that he could understand the essence of the desolate king's sword strike. Unexpectedly, in just one day, Liu Feng had already grasped the supreme truth of swordsmanship. Meishi's eyes flickered, and it was unclear what she was thinking. It seems I'm still not quite there yet to break the seal. Looking at the restored seal before him, Liu Feng frowned. That last sword strike was his limit, encompassing a sliver of the eternal truth he had comprehended. He hadn't expected that, even so, he still couldn't break the seal. This was entirely a matter of power. If Liu Feng were to advance to the level of a demon sword master, perhaps he could break it. So eager to break through, are you trying to escape? But unfortunately, no one below the sword sect level can break through my restriction. Not far away, Meishi gradually walked over with a smile on her face. Liu Feng said expressionlessly, "How will you know if you don't try? Stop struggling. Just stay here with me for 50 years. Isn't that nice?" Meishi said with a half-smile. Liu Feng said coldly, "You should find someone else. I'll get out sooner or later. You can't keep me locked up for long." No one could restrain Liu Feng. Neither the allure of a stunning beauty nor the pressure of a master from the sword sect could sway him. He would neither be moved nor afraid. Meishi gave an ambiguous look. "All right, whether we can keep you locked up or not, we'll wait and see." Just then, a loud bang resounded, and the entire stone chamber trembled violently. The barrier shone brightly, emitting extremely strong fluctuations. Someone is attacking the barrier. Meishi was startled and darted out of the stone chamber like lightning.
Boom.
In just a moment, the barrier shattered, cracks spreading rapidly and breaking apart. So strong. Liu Feng took a deep breath. The restriction that he had been unable to break despite his best efforts had been shattered in such a short time, offering no defensive advantage whatsoever. The person who made this move was undoubtedly from the sword sect. Let's go out and take a look. Liu Feng's mind raced, and he rushed out after Liu Feng. Blood Demon Mountain Range, outside the cave world. Four gaunt figures floated in the air, all dressed in black Taoist robes, with withered faces and cloudy eyes, standing in the four directions of east, west, south, and north. Call out. In the center of the group, Meishi glanced at the four figures around her, her pretty face icy cold. Who are you people? We four have been entrusted by our master to come and retrieve the treasure that rightfully belongs to him, the black-robed elder on the north side of the group replied, stepping forward. You're Xianya's people? Meishi's face showed a look of surprise. Then she gritted her teeth and said in a deep voice, Tell your master that I will not hand over the item, and advise him to give up on that idea. A glint of light flashed in the withered old man's cloudy eyes. In that case, we have no choice but to take you back to the desolate region and hand you over to our master for disposal. Set up the four symbols dragon locking formation. With a loud shout, black light surged from the four people's bodies, and they chanted incantations, revealing obscure runes that spread out densely.
Buzz.
Runes converged, and the four individuals each wielded a magical artifact resembling an array plate. A surge of black energy poured forth like a bolt of lightning, instantly enveloping half of Blood Dragon Mountain. In the sky, an ancient black array formed, completely trapping Meishi's figure. You think you can take me down? Meishi sneered, and with a wave of her hand, a huge bolt of true essence slammed into the formation. The sword sect expert's internal energy had transformed into true essence, increasing its power several times over. This true essence was liquid, extremely condensed, and incredibly powerful.
Buzz.
The great formation was bombarded and trembled violently. In some places, even tiny cracks appeared. Seeing this, the withered old man waved his sleeve, and a strange chain gleaming with black light burst forth from the air. This is the binding god rope? Upon seeing the black chains appear, Meishi's pupils constricted sharply, and she stopped what she was doing. The gaunt old man sneered, My master feared that the four of us were no match for you, so he specially entrusted me with this superior grade Dao artifact, the god-binding rope. With the god-binding rope here, gods and demons will be annihilated. Surrender, demon dragon. A high-grade Dao artifact. Liu Feng, who was hiding in the rock wall below, exclaimed in surprise that this inconspicuous chain was actually a high-grade Dao artifact. It's important to understand that the total number of high-grade Dao artifacts on the entire snow continent probably wouldn't exceed 2 fingers, let alone top-grade ones, which are even rarer. Even the renowned Heavenly Sword Sect's demon-slaying sword is only a high-grade Dao artifact. At least on the surface, no top-grade Dao artifacts have yet been discovered on the snow continent. Seeing this, a look of struggle flashed across Meishi's face, and her whole body suddenly surged with blood-red light, illuminating the entire Blood Demon Mountain in a blood-red, translucent state. In the center of this dazzling crimson light, a deafening dragon roar reverberated between heaven and earth, and a blurry dragon's silhouette faintly appeared.
Boom.
The enormous dragon tail swept across the formation, unleashing a deafening roar. The 4 gaunt figures turned pale, their true energy reversed, and they spat out a mouthful of blood. The gaunt old man at the head of the group gleamed, bit his tongue, and spat a mouthful of blood essence onto the great formation. After the binding god rope was unleashed, it rapidly expanded dozens of times, transforming into a colossal python that merged with the 4 symbols locking dragon formation, enveloping the enchanting dragon.
Wow.
With a violent surge of energy, the binding god rope transformed into a giant black python, trapping the enchanting dragon within its confines. The python coiled itself, further shrinking the space around the enchanting dragon, threatening to capture it. Seeing this earth-shattering scene from afar, Liu Feng's heart was in his throat. Although he was unwilling to be forced to stay underground by Meishi, she didn't seem to have any intention of harming him, so subconsciously, Liu Feng hoped that Meishi would win. In midair, A surge of crimson light erupted, and the enormous body of the demonic dragon rapidly shrank, transforming back into a human figure. A sharp glint flashed in Meishi's eyes, her true essence surging as she silently chanted, "The mighty dragon god, ruler of heaven and earth, with my blood as the catalyst, summons the descent of the holy dragon of the 9 heavens." A faint aura of blood emanated from the enchanting dragon, converging behind her to form a massive virtual portal. Behind the portal, countless celestial flowers rained down, and 7-colored energy surged. Before Liu Feng's horrified eyes, the portal's illusory form slowly opened, and a gigantic golden dragon claw suddenly emerged from it, carrying unparalleled violent power, and slammed into the great formation to which the binding god rope was attached.
Bang!
The 4 men in black robes were sent flying backward, spitting out blood all the way and splattering it on the ground. Just then, the gaunt old man at the head of the group suddenly hardened his expression and shouted into the dense forest behind him, "Make your move quickly." Whoosh! In the dense forest, several dark figures appeared out of thin air. Although their aura was far inferior to that of the black-robed elders, they were only at the early stage of sword master cultivation. However, at this critical juncture, this level of cultivation was sufficient. As soon as they appeared, the group rushed towards Meishi's location. At this moment, Meishi seemed to have used up all her strength in the summoning ritual. Her aura was weak, and she slowly fell from the sky, clearly suffering great injuries and powerless to resist. As she watched the approaching men in black, a rare look of despair appeared in Meishi's beautiful eyes, and she slowly closed them. After holding on for so many years, has it all come to an end? A sense of despair instantly filled the entire world. Just then, a white figure suddenly darted out from the rock wall behind them, grabbed the delicate body in midair, and sped away in the opposite direction. "You brat! You want to die?" Seeing that the cooked duck was about to fly away, the leader of the men in black was furious and drew his long sword to swing it forward. Chapter 70 Thunderous, 13 Swords. Seeing their prey snatched away by Liu Feng, the men in black were enraged and unleashed several sharp sword energies, hurling them at Liu Feng.
Boom!
Liu Feng dodged the sword energies with a swift movement, emerging unscathed. Several attacks failed to hit their target, and the leader of the men in black grew even angrier. "Chase him! Chop this brat into 8 pieces!" Liu Feng cultivated wind elements, so he was very fast. Even with someone on his back, it wasn't easy for the man in black to catch up. However, the distance between them was still gradually decreasing. At this moment, the delicate body on Liu Feng's back stirred, and Meishi opened her eyes, a complex look flashing in her beautiful eyes. "Put me down, or you won't be able to escape either." She hadn't expected Liu Feng to suddenly come to her rescue, especially in such a critical situation. "How will you know if you don't try?" Liu Feng said calmly. Upon hearing this, Meishi fell silent, momentarily lost in thought. After a long while, she came to her senses and sighed softly. "Why did you save me? Aren't you afraid I'll imprison you underground again?" "I gleaned the true essence of the sword from the portrait of the desolate king, which is tantamount to receiving a benefit from you. Now that I have saved you, we are even, and neither of us owes the other anything. As for your desire to imprison me, I don't think you can do that now." Liu Feng is a man who clearly distinguishes between gratitude and resentment. Once he has settled Meishi in, he will leave Blood Demon Mountain. At that time, even if she wanted to imprison him, she probably wouldn't be able to. In her current state, even a swordsman could probably handle her. "You're a really strange person." Meishi's eyes gleamed with a strange light. For some reason, after saying these words, Liu Feng's image in her mind suddenly became more noble. It seemed that the person in front of her was not as despicable as other humans. Ignoring the other party's thoughts, Liu Feng's magic power surged, his speed suddenly increased, and he rushed out of the Blood Demon Mountain's range. A white shadow flashed through the dense forest like lightning, followed closely by 4 men in black, creating gusts of wind as they moved through the woods. Maintaining high-speed movement for an extended period of time greatly depleted Liu Feng's magical energy. After all, although he was strong, his cultivation level was only at the level of a magic swordsman, and the amount and purity of his magical energy were far from sufficient. The leader of the group of men in black was a third-tier swordsman, while the other three were also swordsmen. Their true energy was naturally much stronger than Liu Feng's. As Liu Feng fled, he briefly estimated the time and looked back at Blood Demon Mountain. Several thousand meters away, he did not see any other figures chasing after him. I guess those four were seriously injured as well, Liu Feng thought to himself. Just as he had expected, the four black-robed elders were indeed severely injured by the dragon's claw and would not recover for a while. More importantly, they believed that with the strength of their few black-clad swordsmen, they shouldn't be unable to defeat Liu Feng, a mere swordsman. Reaching a large tree nearby, Liu Feng put Meishi down from his back, took out a gourd of spiritual liquid from his void ring, and poured it into his stomach. The medicinal power dissipated as soon as it entered his mouth and was quickly refined, restoring the depleted magic power in his body.
Whoosh!
Four dark figures flashed over and stopped in front of Liu Feng. The leader, a man in black, grinned, a sinister look on his face. "Why aren't you running anymore? Weren't you supposed to be a fast runner? Why should I run?" Liu Feng raised an eyebrow, a sneer playing on his lips. "You're just a few small fry. Did you really think I was afraid of you? Haha, what arrogance." The man in black licked his chin with a mocking expression and said with a sinister smile, "I will show you the difference between us." Having said that, he directly instructed the others, "You capture the demon dragon and take him to see the lords. I'll have some fun with this kid." "Yes." The group responded and immediately lunged at Meishi's location with lightning speed. "Call out." Liu Feng's eyes narrowed, his white robes fluttering even without wind. He stepped forward with his left foot and then his right, swinging his sword diagonally. The group was still in the middle of their attack when they were stopped by the sudden, sharp sword energy, their movements halting. With a single sword strike, Liu Feng halted the enemy's advance, then burst forth with a violent surge of azure energy, transforming himself into a whirlwind with terrifying power. The wind sweeps away the clouds. His body spun rapidly, unleashing an incomparably fierce and violent momentum as streaks of sword energy swept out, covering the sky and the earth.
Boom!
Struck by the violent sword energy, the three were struck as if by lightning, spitting out a mouthful of blood. They were thrown back one by one, collapsing to the ground, unable to get up. "What?" The man in black was horrified. Although his three subordinates were not as strong as him, they were all early-stage sword masters. How could they have been defeated in a single move? A flicker of apprehension crossed the black-clad man's eyes, his expression shifting between light and shadow as he secretly thought, "This kid is strange." With a flick of his wrist, the man in black produced a heavy cyan sword. His expression turned solemn. "Boy, you've earned my right to unleash the 13 Thunder Swords." Having said that, the man in black poured his powerful inner energy into the green-edge heavy sword. The ground around him began to tremble, and the stones on the ground crumbled and were swept into the air by the gale, shattering into dust. Holding the heavy sword high, he took 3 steps forward and swung the sword 3 times at Liu Feng. The sword strikes were fierce and powerful. Liu Feng dared not be careless. He remained calm and responded to the situation with a move called Flowing Water Sword, deflecting the fierce force with minimal effort. The man in black remained unhurried, taking the 4th and 5th steps until the 13th sword strike was completed. Each strike seemed to overlap, executed in one fluid motion without a moment's pause. The power of the sword increased with each strike, especially the final 3, which crackled with electricity in the air and emitted a faint rumbling sound. Excellent swordsmanship. Liu Feng's eyes lit up. The fluidity of this sword technique was superb, almost flawless, leaving him no opening. However, even the most skillful swordsmanship has weaknesses, especially since this technique wasn't particularly advanced. Its weakness was its excessive clumsiness and lack of flexibility. The greatsword's speed increased rapidly, and a fierce shockwave rushed towards him. Liu Feng seized the opportunity, lightly flicking his sword out, deflecting the heavy sword force 3 inches from the blade. Using the powerful force, Liu Feng leaned back, taking several steps backward. How is this possible? The man in black grew increasingly alarmed as the battle progressed. He had never encountered a swordsman like Liu Feng before. Every move and stance seemed effortless and harmless, yet he always managed to perfectly neutralize Liu Feng's attacks and gradually weaken his momentum. His strength was no match for Liu Feng's, while his opponent always seemed to see through his weaknesses, employing unexpected sword techniques that left him defenseless. It's time to end the battle. Liu Feng raised his arm, twisted his wrist, leaned his body slightly forward, raised the demon-slaying sword to his chest, and slashed out with a horizontal strike. As the sword flashed, the black-clad man's expression changed. From that glint of light, he seemed to see the changing seasons and the transformation of heaven and earth, an endless sense of vicissitude washing over him, giving him an unstoppable feeling. In haste, he could only raise his heavy sword to block in front of his chest. However, Liu Feng's sword strike, which contained the eternal truth, could even break through the restrictions set up by Mei Shi, so how could it be blocked by a simple parry?
Click.
After being struck by the sword's edge, the great sword quickly developed cracks that spread rapidly, eventually shattering into countless fragments. No! The sword light magnified rapidly in the black-clad man's eyes, becoming unstoppable. With a spurt of blood, the black-clad man's neck was severed, his life extinguished. Sheathing his demon-slaying sword, Liu Feng stretched out his hand and released a suction force that drew the storage pouches of the group into his hand, tossing them into his ring. Clap, clap, clap. Just then, a burst of applause suddenly came from not far behind him. Liu Feng's pupils contracted sharply, and he looked in the direction of the sound, where an unfamiliar figure came into view. Chapter 71 Fusion Sword Techniques. Suddenly, a young man with a hooked nose appeared under a large tree not far away, walking towards Liu Feng with a smile. He clapped his hands and said kindly, "Brother, you are truly a hidden master. You managed to take down so many sword masters in one go. I am truly impressed. Who are you?" Liu Feng asked warily. This person had appeared just as he finished his battle, which made him suspicious. However, judging from the person's appearance, he didn't seem to want to kill and steal the treasure.
So what did he want?
"Brother, there's no need to panic." Seemingly sensing Liu Feng's concerns, the hook-nosed youth smiled nonchalantly and took out a bronze token. "I am Shi Yan, a captain in the Great Wilderness Army, under the command of General Ling of the Vanguard Battalion. I happened to be passing by and wanted to lend you a hand, but I didn't expect you to be so powerful and easily defeat the enemy, leaving me no chance to even make a move." "Oh!" Liu Feng raised an eyebrow. The truth of the other party's words was less than 20%. If it were true, it would be too much of a coincidence. However, since the other party had military identification, he should undoubtedly be a soldier from the Great Wilderness, which dispelled Liu Feng's concerns. Even though the man showed Liu Feng his Imperial Wilderness Army badge, Liu Feng remained vigilant. Even within the Imperial Army, there were likely many untrustworthy individuals. "Brother, I see your companion seems to be seriously injured. I have a bottle of excellent healing pills here, which I'll give you." The hook-nosed youth had a big smile on his face as he took out a white jade bottle, looking extremely enthusiastic, and slowly approached Liu Feng. Liu Feng frowned. Shi Yan's behavior was a bit too enthusiastic, making him feel that something was not right. "Let's get ready to make our move. This guy is a complete liar. He's clearly been lurking around here for a long time, yet he claims he just happened to be passing by. I think he's up to no good." Suddenly, Mei Shi's familiar voice reached Liu Feng's ears. "What?" Liu Feng's heart skipped a beat. If what Mei Shi said was true, then Shi Yan definitely had ulterior motives. Perhaps he was waiting for Liu Feng and the man in black to fight to the death, so he could reap the benefits. Although she was seriously injured, her senses, as a sec-level expert, were still intact. Sure, Yan was hiding to the side, and others might not be able to sense him, but she would definitely be able to find him. The fact that this person sent the healing medicine suggests there might be an ulterior motive. Liu Feng outwardly reached out to catch it, but secretly he channeled his magic power, remaining cautious and ready to strike at any moment. Careful. Mei Chao's voice suddenly rose several times higher. Sure enough, at that moment, the smile on Sure Yan's face vanished, replaced by a sinister look. A sharp black dagger appeared in his hand, and he stabbed it fiercely towards Liu Feng's heart.
Bite.
With a soft clang of metal clashing, the demon-slaying sword was held horizontally to the chest, blocking the sharp dagger tip. Liu Feng retreated swiftly, a cold glint flashing in his eyes. That attack was extremely dangerous. If he had been caught off guard, he could very well have been caught off guard. He actually dodged it. Sure Yan looked surprised, not expecting his surprise attack to be seen through. Just as Mei Shi had said, he had been lying in wait for a long time, waiting for an opportunity. He planned to reap the benefits after Liu Feng and the men in black were both severely injured, but he hadn't expected Liu Feng to be so strong, actually killing all 4 men in black. This forced him to devise this plan. The smile on Sure Yan's face vanished, replaced by a ferocious expression. He sneered, "I wanted to let you die a quick death, but now I can only let you die in agony." After saying that, Sure Yan's eyes flashed with a fierce light, and his aura rapidly expanded. His cultivation level, which was originally only at the 1st or 2nd level of swordsman, quickly rose to a higher level, and his aura was even stronger than that of the black-clad man who had previously led the group. Liu Feng's expression was solemn, and he said in a deep voice, "You actually dare to attack your own people. Aren't you afraid of being punished according to military regulations?" The Northern Snow Empire has strict military regulations. Anyone found to be harming someone within the military camp will be executed without question, as a crime equivalent to treason. Upon hearing this, Sure Yan licked his chapped lips and smiled sinisterly. "That's simple. As long as I kill you and destroy the evidence, no one will know that I did it."
Oh, you've reminded me.
Destroying your body and covering up the evidence is indeed a good idea, Liu Feng said expressionlessly. "Heh, you're still pretty stubborn. I wonder if you'll still be spouting nonsense when I trample you under my feet." Sure Yan's face was full of violence, and streams of true energy, in the form of black mist, condensed into tendrils around him, moving in the void and emitting a terrifying aura, which was extremely sinister. What a bizarre martial art. Lu Chun frowned. This kind of martial art was completely different from the style of martial arts in the army. It was more like the unorthodox and heretical techniques of the witchcraft sect. "Prepare to die." A fierce glint appeared in Sure Yan's eyes, and his black tentacles suddenly swelled up, blotting out the sky and engulfing Liu Feng. At this moment, Sure Yan resembled a giant octopus, exuding an aura of evil, and his entire being was incredibly ferocious. Roar! With a roar, Sure Yan swiftly leaped forward, his tentacles tightly enveloping Liu Feng, transforming him into a black cage. Inside the black cage, Liu Feng remained fearless. With a swift movement, his steps aligned with the celestial constellations, a masterful maneuver. His demon-slaying sword moved deftly amidst the swarms of tentacles surrounding him, unleashing sharp sword energy that cleaved through the viscous, true energy. One by one, the tentacles were severed, their power greatly diminished. Useless. A mocking look appeared on Sure Yan's face. Under his urging, the black tentacles grew back and swept towards Liu Feng in the center. Faced with this scene, Liu Feng's face was tense, and various thoughts flashed through his mind as he quickly considered how to deal with it. "Ha ha ha, just surrender obediently. You can't break through my dark cage." Sure Yan's face was full of smugness. This martial art, called Dark Cage, was obtained from a master of the Witch clan, and its level had reached the Earth rank. He had already mastered this martial art, but Dark Cage had not disappointed him. It had allowed him to defeat some masters of higher ranks multiple times, further strengthening his confidence in this martial art. Since that's the case, then I'll have no choice but to let you experience my fatal sword strike. In this situation, Liu Feng decided to use his last trump card, a new sword technique he had fused with during his time in the Panlong Mountains. Liu Feng named it Surprising Wind Annihilation. With a flick of the long sword, the golden blade of the demon-slaying sword erupted with dazzling magical power. Sharp sword light rapidly condensed, creating a vacuum in the surrounding air before it. A chilling aura slowly rose from the demon-slaying sword. At the same time, a desolate and murderous despair emanated from Liu Feng's eyes, instantly filling the entire world. His robes billowed wildly, and the light in Liu Feng's eyes quickly focused. He then took a step forward, raised the demon-slaying sword high, and swung it diagonally. A terrifying sword beam swept across, cleaving the massive black cage in two. What? Shi Yan stared in disbelief at the cage that had been split in two by a single sword strike. This is the moment. Liu Feng stepped into the void, leaving only an afterimage, and instantly appeared in front of Shi Yan, slashing with his sword. Shi Yan's expression changed drastically. In a panic, he took out a small cyan shield from his storage pouch to protect his vital points. Clang! With a low hum, Shi Yan's body flew backward, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Seeing this, Liu Feng took a step forward, about to draw his sword again, when Shi Yan's whole body shone with black light, as if he had used some secret technique. His weakened aura quickly recovered, and he streaked away into the distance like a shooting star. Only a hateful voice echoed between heaven and earth. "You brat, you'll regret it if you offend me."